Well, the Department of Justice is retaliating against democratically run cities. So Trump's DOJ, under the leadership of William Barr, has basically cited cities such as New York, Seattle, and Portland as anarchist cities. And the purpose for that is to see if they could prevent the flow of federal money going to these municipalities. So the Trump administration has accused them of tolerating protests while decrying federal intervention. And so this is how they're punishing them. New York City, Portland, and Seattle are on a list of anarchist cities that Trump officials say have failed to stem crime linked to a summer of protests. Now, this is a follow-up of a memo that Trump released earlier this month. That memo directed Attorney General William Barr to identify jurisdictions that have permitted violence and the destruction of property to persist and have refused to undertake reasonable measures to counteract these criminal activities slash anarchist jurisdictions. So I want to just mention real quick that there's a ton of criminality that takes place within the Trump administration. We know that, we've detailed that. But if you want to focus solely on what happens during these protests, let us not forget that in case after case, especially in cities like New York, for instance, we have seen looting take place with cops nearby, and the cops do nothing about it. Instead, they had focused their force and their brutality toward peaceful protesters. They allowed the looting to take place. They turned a blind eye to that. And for some reason, it's the city's fault that the police chose to be brutal toward peaceful protesters and ignore the property damage that the Trump administration pretends to care so much about.
Yeah, there is no such thing as the city is now in anarchy and we will cut off your funding. Where does that say in the Constitution? What are you talking about? This is just totally invented thing out of whole cloth. We now declare you anarchists. Okay, I declare you the Easter Bunny. So what? So of course the whole point is to cut off funding. And is that constitutional? I mean, there's nothing to do with the Constitution. So they're gonna try to, again, bend every law to their favor to try to score political points. I'm kind of bummed LA didn't make the list. I was planning on going out tonight and being like, there's anarchy, let's go nuts. Okay.
Well, just wait, because they're still gonna consider other cities. Now, things didn't get too heated in Los Angeles during the protest. There were some scuffles with cops, that certainly happened. But most of the headlines had to do with the fight between protesters and cops in those particular cities, in Portland, Seattle, and New York.
And they're putting these cities on a list. Why? Because they said, because they were doing protests that they don't like. These are from the guys who are in favor of freedom of speech, and they're against cancel culture. They're trying to cancel whole cities at a time. The world's largest hypocrites.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.